Hello everyone, this is Mike with the Shadow Trader Stock and Options Room. Before I get to my main topic today, I just wanted to cover real quickly what happened in the SLV or in the silver market after my last shadow short. It turns out that this signal was accurate and we had a nice run up. Whatever happened here, I don't even know what it was that caused this. A lot of bulls headed for the exits for sure on this on Friday, and there's no doubt about that. I'm still holding my long position. I'm still playing the weekly zone. I'm still holding for this to see if this is going to be a successful breakout that actually holds, but I will exit my long position from lower if we break that zone. And so there's probably not a whole lot more to be said about this. Again, I don't know what it was that caused that sharp sell-off. It was pretty fast and hard, but I'm still in long. I did get knocked out of the room account, the trade that I had taken with subscribers, because I didn't want to lose any money on it. It was falling so hard. So I'm watching this now. I'm noting there's fairly little buying that happened toward the end of the day on Friday, so I think the jury is still out on whether or not this is going to push a little bit harder on Monday. The Micron trade is still testing this zone right here. I did get knocked out one time here. Whoops. I got knocked out when it fell right here. I felt it was prudent to go ahead and get out. And then when it recovered and returned back up there, I view this now as that it's still working on this longer term zone. So I am back in long right here, waiting to see if this zone is going to hold. But what I really wanted to talk about today is the bond market. Here's the TLT. I see some things going on here that I still feel are bullish. Now here's this line right here. I simply threw in here. This is where I last talked about it with you, the general public, and on March 31st on my shadow short. If you want to go back and look at that, you can. And here now, if you recall, I was in a long trade, and that trade turned out fine. I did get stopped out on this flush. This is the tariff event right here. What I'm noting here that I think is interesting, that the market really from this point on has from this flush has really not gone lower. I'm noting that as a glaring reality in the bond market. I know that the dialogue is quite up in the air. A lot of people are saying, I shouldn't say a lot, some people are saying that bonds, just stay away from bonds. I tend to ignore the rhetoric. I know that there's a lot of dialogue and back and forth between Powell and Trump and whatnot. There's a good chance, though, I think there's a lot of consensus in the fact that eventually rates are going to come down. Well, what's that going to do? That's going to bring the bond market up. And so I take that as a challenge as a technician and look for signs in the consolidation to see if there's an opportunity to front run something that's likely to be happening. I should say likely only because there's anticipation that that's eventually going to happen. It may not, but if it does, then let's look for signs in the chart that suggest it's going to happen. So I see that TLT after this came down and below here, and now we have another head and shoulders type pattern. A head and shoulders pattern doesn't need to be picture perfect for me. I see the price action and it really telegraphs to me the same type of information, whether it's picture perfect or not. But we couldn't go lower. Here's the head, try once again, and now we're moving back up. That feels bullish to me. There is a trend line coming down here that I don't have drawn in, that I do have drawn on the 10-year. And if you recall in my last video, I tend to lean on the 10-year for decision-making purposes. So here's the line that talked about where I talked about it last time. Is get rid of that. This is a weekly scale. Here's the tariff event, and here's the consolidation. In this consolidation, what I find interesting is that along with that difficulty to go lower pattern that we have to the left of us currently, we also now have the market has built in here horizontal levels that it is trading around, which is fairly typical. And what I see here now is a inverse head and shoulders pattern as well right here, that I took a long trade right here on the 10-year bond on Thursday, I think it was. But there's still plenty of opportunity. I feel like what's happening is that this chart is telegraphing that it wants to go up because of what has not happened. And so we have this level that's very dominant right through here. We have a little bit of a push-pull here with head and shoulders structures. We have a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, double left, double right, and then we have this smaller one right here. So there's a little bit of push-pull. I don't put as much weight on head and shoulders patterns if they are contained within structure larger to the left. But still it's there, and I'll go ahead and trade it and take a little trades to see, because my forte, I guess you would say, is to take small risk opportunities as testing to see if what I'm seeing in the larger scale is actually working. So if this trade works, then if we go down to a 4-hour scale, then here's the structure from that view. And what I think is, I tend to be very forward thinking, and because of what has not happened, I say, what if this happens? What if this right shoulder breaks? Well, then that opens the door to take this trend line out. Well, this is a longer term zone. If we get back up into that zone after making a higher low and an inverse head and shoulders pattern, that does suggest that maybe if I use just a little bit of imagination, that this trade could run all the way up into here. And to me, I think it's great to just throw a little bit of money at something, because that little bit of money can turn into a pretty nice profit if you have patience and you have a long-term view and tend to look at charts from that perspective. So if we can break this trend line and we get back up into this zone this quickly, relatively speaking, well, that opens the door for something. So whether you're a short-term trader as far as just a few days, weeks, or if you're a long-term investor, I think that there's signals in this chart that suggest that there's opportunity to possibly front-run what might be happening in the rates conversation. I don't know that that's true, but again, I'm willing to take a few cracks at it and see if that's true. There is an entry, there's an entry here. If it breaks that shoulder, that's fairly low risk. But for anybody that's even a really long-term thinker, this whole thing is a bullish area that you could just buy this and put a stop under here, depending on your parameters. So I plan to add if it comes up into here. And if you'd prefer to trade something a little smaller in the future side, you don't want to trade TLT or put out the cash to trade TLT or TMF or whatever, you can trade short the interest rates. And here's the structure on the interest rates. Here's that double left shoulder, double right shoulder in inverse. And I think that this breakdown right here could be a great opportunity to go short the rates. And I plan to do so, which is why I have an alert right there. I'm going to do this in the Shadow Trader account with the subscribers. I like the way this has just come up into here, hit this level right through here, gone back and forth trying to decide what to do. That's an auction doing its exploration process. And now if it falls out of here, I will consider that a failed auction to the upside on the rate side of things. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you. I think that just generally speaking, I'm seeing evidence in the chart overall that's bullish bonds, negative rates. And I think there's opportunity here.
Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm one of the moderators for the Shadow Trader Stock and Options Room. Thank you for joining me for this video today, and I'd like to invite you to join me in the Shadow Trader Stock and Options Room, where I teach my method of swing trading for stocks, options, and occasionally futures. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below, and hopefully I'll see you in the room. So until then, I wish you good trading.